NASA presidential candidate Raila Odinga last night spoke to an unrivaled Kenyan audience during the presidential debate after President Uhuru Kenyatta snubbed the debate. Raila, in the 90-minute debate, outlined NASA's agenda for the country and defended the coalition and himself over various allegations.
Let us now put our hands together for Honorable Raila Odinga.
After his main opponent, Jubilee presidential candidate Uhuru Kenyatta, failed to show up for the presidential debate, NASA presidential candidate Raila Odinga had the podium and the time to himself in a debate moderated by Joe Ageo of KTN News and NTV's Linus Kaikai.
As president, if you get elected, what will be your specific role in the fight against corruption?
Action is what is lacking. And here I say that the buck stops with the president, that action needs to be taken. When we were forming this NASA coalition, we sat down among ourselves and deliberated seriously on this issue. That's why you'll find it in our coalition agreement. You say that every member of this club will ensure that they don't do business with government, and that includes also their relatives, and that action will be taken against public servants who are involved in any kind of corrupt act. If you find a situation where a president convenes a meeting in State House to talk about corruption, and then admits publicly, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, and this. What do you want me to do? I've failed. Basically, expressing failure. I say, Mr. President, the buck stops with you. If you have failed, then pack up and go home.
Well, that's fair enough, and that's easy to say. But I have listened to the president when he speaks about corruption, and I think this is what he says, that he has ensured his government has provided money to the agencies. He says all the commissions are independent, ESCC, Directorate of Criminal Investigations, the courts are independent, and that he fired certain people from his cabinet, which was within his powers to do, and that, based on what the Constitution says, there's nothing left for him to do. If you were in that situation, what is that other thing you would have done as President Raila Odinga?
First, Mr. President needs to allow the independent institution to work independently. He took a list which had been given just for information, names which were still under investigations. And because he was in a hurry, he went and tabled it in Parliament. Some of those people had not been found guilty. There was no sufficient evidence against them. And he tarnished names of very many innocent people. Then, on the other one, when we looked at that list, we found that a number of names were actually missing. Some names had been expunged from it. And I challenged him. And I said there was a name here of then the Minister for Devolution, which was here and has been removed. And I showed him where the name had been removed. Then came the NYS case. And I told him, I know what is happening in Kibra. I know how NYS was being looted. And I said, the suspect is so-and-so. They came out and said, I should leave that lady alone, that I should face them directly, himself and his deputy. He called a press conference in State House. When later on evidence emerged linking that minister with that scandal, Deputy President went to a church in Githurai and said that that lady should stop speaking too much English. She must answer. You know, for your information, Joe, that lady is the candidate of Jubilee for gubernatorial elections in Kirinyaga.
So what would you have done, Mr. Odinga?
I would have taken action, a la Magafuli style. I would have Magafuli'd her.
Raila, who is hoping to become Kenya's 5th president, defended himself against claims that he was involved in the maize scandal.
Your personal handling of the 2008 food security strategic grain reserves importation in which your own Chief of Staff, Karoli Omondi, signed, and this was captured by a PwC report that indicated that that was unprocedural. And indeed, you are also in the middle of what was then a maize importation scandal.
You know, the maize scandal itself was a bigger scandal. But before I go to the actions I took, there were people who had been mentioned, including ministers in that maize scandal. There were two of my officers, my Chief of Staff and my Permanent Secretary. I immediately asked them to step aside so that the investigations could be carried out. With respect to Mr. Karoli Omondi, the investigations were carried out by PricewaterhouseCoopers. Because yes, Mr. Karoli Omondi had signed authorizing the National Cereals Board to do the importation. What had happened was that there had been delays by the ministry and the NCPB to place the order for maize consignment coming from South Africa. As a result of which, the prices had gone up because the port of Durban was not available and they had to ship to Maputo. We had to go to Cabinet to seek Cabinet authority to pay additional 14 million shillings for that consignment. Once the Cabinet had authorized, I instructed Karoli Omondi to inform the Cereals Board that they must place the order immediately so that the cost does not go up again. The Cereals Board then demanded that he signs that he had authorized. I told him the memo was going to come from then the head of public service, Mr. Mdaura, containing the Cabinet approval. That Cabinet approval was eventually shown to Pricewaterhouse. Mr. Karoli Omondi was cleared. The same thing with my Permanent Secretary. But you need to know that I also suspended the minister in charge of agriculture, who had been giving his friends letters to go and take maize from the National Cereals Board, the current deputy president. But that decision was countermanded by the president.
Raila says his priority, if elected, will be to bring down the cost of living. He defended the NASA coalition over its decision to set up a parallel tallying center and its claims of a rigging plan.
A tallying center in Tanzania, is that true?
So why should somebody be worried about a tallying center, even if it is in Germany, even if it is in the United States, or if it is in the moon? Or why should that be an issue? Why should that be a security issue? Because we are just adding up results and storing it. We are storing it, unless somebody intends to rig. Why should that be a matter of national importance to the security intelligence of this country?
So do you or not have a tallying center in Tanzania?
We have a tallying center.
In Tanzania?
In Kenya, and in Kenya, and in the clouds.
Raila was taking part in a presidential debate for the second time.
We are on the brink of history as a country. It has been a long journey to reach where we have reached today as a people. The 8th of August is going to remain in the annals of our history as a very historic day for our people. Every Kenyan who is able, who was registered as a voter, must turn out to cast their vote to participate in history making. I'm sure that at the end of the day, Kenyans are going to emerge victorious. So we urge you, whether you're a Jubilee supporter, if you're a NASA supporter, turn up and vote for us, because Nane Nane will remain forever a very important day in your life. Thank you very much. Asanteni sana wa Kenya kwa kunisikiliza. Ni juta ya kwamba ndugu yangu Uhuru Kenyatta hakukuja. Ningependa sana akae pale, nieleze yale maneno yote, akisikia apate fursa ya kujibu, lakini ameniwacha peke yangu. Ameniweka shere, lakini ndio ameweka boya hapa, lakini pamoja na haya mimi namtakia kila laheri na rafiki yake Bwana Ruto. Natakiwa heri, nasema hiyo mchezo mchuano itakuwa ya kirafiki na yule ambaye atashinda ashinde, na siyekubali kushindwa sio mshindani.
An earlier segment of the debate saw 3 presidential candidates, Ekuru Aukot of the Third Way Alliance, and independent candidates Japheth Kavinga and Michael Wainaina sell their agenda to Kenyans. Rita Tinina, KTN News.
Well, and that's definitely how things went down last night.